thanks to the support as a channel member, Liam Cooney. I always knew defenders were stupid, and now I finally got my proof. Despite us running away with the Bundesliga and looking good in the Champions League, two of our defenders got in a moody, decided to force their way out of the club, and we've had to sell £150 million worth of defender. Not perfect timing. Hello and welcome to Club 3, Part 19 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have both legs of our Champions League last 16 game against Leipzig, which is very handy because the last time we played against German teams in the Champions League knockout rounds, we made it all the way through to the final. So fingers crossed, a sign of things to come. And let's face it, we are 20 points clear of Leipzig in the league. So I'd like to think we should be able to beat them because since you were last with me, things have gone very, very, very well. We've played a lot of football because we wanted to get through a whole bunch of these Bundesliga games because we're running away with that, and Champions League qualification was already kind of sewn up as well, so I didn't need to show you the last couple of group matches, but all of that, I mean, we've not lost since Barcelona. That's how well we've been playing. All of that means in the Bundesliga, we're 20 points clear of Leipzig, 17 points clear of Bayer Leverkusen, who seem to be back, 26 points clear of Bayern Munich, who are just falling apart. They can't cope with not winning the league every year. We also have already won the Champions League this season, because in the league format stage, we did finish top of it. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a Champions League win. Apparently, the game doesn't see it that way. I did have a look on the rules, and we haven't been given a trophy. But with all that success going on, you'd think nothing could go wrong. Well, my defenders had other ideas. Hakan Moorman had his head turned, basically. Paris Saint-Germain came in with an offer. It was like £70 million initially, and he did that whole got to persuade to stay thing, tried to persuade him to stay. He wasn't having any of it. I said no because, I mean, we love Hakan Moorman. He is such an aerial threat at the set pieces. He's been such a great goal-scoring threat for us over the seasons as well. I mean, 11 years that year was probably his big highlight. He's kind of declined a bit since then, which is interesting for somebody so young. He's declined at that element of his game. But I don't know about you, since the winter update, it feels like the player mutiny stuff isn't full on back, but there seems to be they started FM24 with player mutinies being absurd, and then they fixed it by making it never happen. And now I think we've gone somewhere back in the middle where sometimes you get an unhappy player and it will lead to a little bit of dissent in the ranks. And that's what happened. He wanted to go. I wouldn't let him, and then a few of the other players kind of ganged up on me. We were like, no, really, you should let him go. So we agreed a price at 95 million, assuming they wouldn't meet it. They met it immediately. He's gone for 95 million, but he's not the only one, because Matthias Borches, slightly different story. We got an offer of £54 million for a fringe player. He's only started 7 games for us this year, only started 8 last year. He signed on a free transfer just before I arrived at the club and has never really been a nailed on starter for us. 54 million, Spurs doing the Spurs, really. So he's gone there. We have signed a replacement defender. Oscar Caldere is a 24-year-old Spanish international, 30 caps already for Spain at 24 years old. He's a similar 6'2" stature boy to Moorman, but just not as good in the air. So he's not going to be the same level of aerial threat. But he's come in for £68 million from Real Madrid. So we've kind of, I don't think we're any weaker in defence. We've just got a big pile of cash there to spend. We've also had a few of the other boys go out on loans who wanted game time. Most notable, Vic Schumacher has gone on loan to Atletico Madrid until the end of the season, so he's going to go and get some game time. Also, August Kernan has gone out for a loan at Marseille. He is actually looking really good. We played him a couple of times over that little run of form that we've had. He's not ready to be my starter yet, which is why we've loaned him out, but he looks like he's going to be something quite special. So all of that means our transfers for the year, I mean, we're on a net spend of less than 100 million at this point. In the year we signed Bellingham and 144 million pounds worth of goalkeeper. So that's not too shabby, really. We're doing all right. We've got 29 million in the bank. We've still got 70 million of transfer budget to spend. And we're well below our wage budget. It's well below Bayern Munich's wage spend as well. And you saw the league table. So I'm pretty happy with how things are going. We just need to navigate our way past Leipzig, and fingers crossed, we should be able to. This is the team for that game. It's Antonio Carlos in goal. I've kind of drifted into still doing the inverted the inverted fullback thing, but just having Van Veen as a normal wing back. So when Van Veen pushes forward and Moreira tucks in, you kind of have, it almost becomes a back, you get the back three of Suarez, Caldere and Schikowski, which, by the way, that back three, very, very solid. So you get them as a back three, and then Van Eijma kind of there on his own, and then Carrier and Bellingham a little bit ahead of him, but then you have Moreira come into the middle, and Van Veen almost playing on the left-hand side of the attack with Herrera on the right, with those two as wingers, pinging crosses in for Big Kev, plus Carrier and Bellingham bursting out of midfield. Moreira's already in there. It works beautifully. I'll show you it in action, but it's Antonio Carlos in goal, a back four of Van Veen, Suarez, Caldere and Schikowski, Van Eijma, Bellingham and Carrier in midfield, Moreira and Herrera supporting Big Kev. Big Kev, by the way, has had an outstanding season. 28 goals from 30 appearances in all competitions, a 7.54 average rating, 15 from 16 starts in the league on a 7.53. Big Kev, after a season of having to play not even second fiddle, he was third fiddle last year behind Emil Hiskey and Connor Egan, and he has just taken this new system by the scruff of the neck and decided if we're only playing with one striker, he's the size of two, he's going to be that one striker, and he's been an absolute revelation. We played all last year with him just coming off the bench, and I'm now wondering how different last season's Champions League run might have been if we'd have unleashed Big Kev properly. It is a little bit of a shame for Egan and Hiskey, who did nothing wrong to lose their spot. They just didn't start the season in possession of the shirt. Big Kev did, and he has just been relentless. He's never given either of them an opportunity to establish themselves back in the team. Bellingham is taking an age to line up this free kick. I assume that means he's sticking it in the top corner. No, it's gone straight into the wall. Suarez, though, feeding on scraps, and there is Big Kev with the header, and it falls to Van Eijma, and that's 1-0 inside the first quarter of the game. What a header from Big Kev, by the way. He almost snapped the post with the power from this header. Bellingham, such a poor free kick, but Suarez does really well to keep the move alive. Carrier has first go, but then Big Kev wallops it. In fact, it's not at the post, it's into the goalkeeper, and Van Eijma's there to score the rebound. The goalkeeper for Leipzig, by the way, Chang, is the other one that we almost signed in the summer when we went for Antonio Carlos. He was the best guy in the Bundesliga previously. We've got two of the best goalkeepers in the world, both in the Bundesliga and in this match. So it's no mean feat to have taken the lead early on against Leipzig. They are a struggle to get a goal past, but we've done that, and going ahead in the away leg, of course, crucially important when it comes to trying to progress in the tournament. And that's what we want now. We want to win the Champions League. We want to retain our Bundesliga title, win the Champions League, and then have a big smile on our face at a job well done. That's the plan. Van Eijma showing that he is sensational. He is a wonderful thing. And now Bellingham playing it forward to Carrier, and Moreira now. Huge amount of space for Moreira. Plays it across to Big Kev, who couldn't apply the finish. It remains 1-0. Big Kev, he's had a couple of chances to score today and not made the most of either of them yet. Hopefully all of the kind words I said about him at the start of the episode aren't going to come back and bite me in the buttock. We have got the other two on the bench ready to come on if needed. So it's not an absolute disaster. Oh, the other thing we've done, by the way, just to fill out our Champions League squad, the Nick Jonas brothers are both back. They were out on loan, and they're now both back in the squad as homegrown players, because they're just useful to have for the Champions League for the second half of the season. Right, Bellingham, another opportunity for a free kick. This time it is going there, surely. Right into that top corner, 2-0. Come on, Jude. This is what we spent all the money on. He's hit the post now. He hasn't got these magical powers that I was led to believe he would have. He's a good player. I don't know if he's 100 million good based on the performances we've got out of him so far. And I do keep criticising him in episodes, and then I look at him, and if you actually look at how his season is going, let me show you the season. 7.48 in the league, 7.37 in all competitions. He's averaging a really, really high rate, and he does pick up assists. I think I'm just expecting him to do remarkable things in the match engine every time I see him play, and that's not what's happening, which is a little bit of a shame. But he's certainly pulling his weight. Don't you worry about that. Right, we're gonna play Fontanil's. And you know what? What we might do, undo that. We're going to bring on Garcia, and we are going to go to the two inverted fullbacks and then Suarez as libero, which he has done quite a few times now, just getting up alongside Van Eijma, keeping the back three, but just with a different shape of players pushing out of it. We've now got Hiskey and Egan out wide, so we've basically got 3 strikers, 3 centre-backs, and Suarez is going to sit alongside Van Eijma and presumably not have to step into the back four very often, you wouldn't think. Right, we are going to bring on, we'll bring on Ayadeli, and we're also going to bring on Maui. We're actually going to swap those two around and we'll do them like that. And it would be nice to grab a second goal from this first leg, just to really give us that little bit of a confidence boost. Not that we necessarily need one the way we've been playing lately, but just to make us feel a little bit more comfortable going into that second leg. A 1-goal lead, especially when you've dominated the game the way we have, it's not the most secure victory that we could have had, is it? But at least it's a win. A win is a win. I think we've got a domestic game to play now. I won't show you that. I'll show you the second leg against Leipzig. Yeah, we'll go and play Kiel off camera, and then we'll be back for the second leg against Leipzig. Nice little win from a nicely rotated team as well. Always nice to see Big Kev having an outing in central midfield, and that, I mean, take that into consideration when we talk about how many goals he's scored. Central midfield, that man is playing out of. He's something else, but the opportunity to get Egan and Hiskey back into the team, always fun as well. And it just keeps our run of wins in the league going. So now we need a performance like that again in the second leg against Leipzig. It's an unchanged team from the first leg, a very different team to the one that we just used in the league. But this is very much our first 11, and fingers crossed we can go out there and score a result. I feel like I've mastered squad rotation. I mean, if we lose here, then you could all laugh at me and say I've mastered nothing, but it does help having lots of very good players. But this is actually one of the smaller squads that I've ever had. We've only got like 22, 23 players in the squad, in our first team squad, and they're all kind of getting game time, apart from the Nick Jonas brothers, who know full well they're just there to make up the numbers. But everyone else is getting rotated quite regularly, and they're getting their game time. So hopefully that's going to allow us to keep the players fresh and allow us not to burn out the older guy, Jude Bellingham, and also not break some of the youngsters. Look at Suarez. That's why we can play him as a libero, because he can just dance out of defence with the ball. And there is Big Kev, and that's goal number 29 of the season. If the ref's giving it, he's got his finger in his ear. I mean, we deserve the goal there just from the wonderful work from Suarez. Worth every penny of the 90 million we spent on him. Unbelievable that he signed from Burton Albion. That's just madness. But this little dance forward past 2 Leipzig players. He's a centre-back. He shouldn't be able to do that. And Moreira just finishing it off. And Big Kev, I mean, what a header that is, because he is jumping away from the goal, but in the air manages to turn his head and head it with the side of his head behind him. What a great header that is. And he certainly got better in the air. I mean, he's always been a big boy, but he has certainly improved his headed finishing over the couple of years that we've had him at the club. And that was a perfect example of it there. Lovely work from him. 1-0 on the night, 2-0 on aggregate, and fingers crossed that is us into the quarter-final of this season's Champions League. And that's one step further than we got last year. And fingers crossed we can go on and win the thing. I mean, I said at the start of the season, this is a squad that should be capable of winning the Champions League. I still believe it. And I mean, we've got the best goalkeeper in the world. Didn't even have to use him there because our centre-backs are so good. I actually think with the little bit of the merry-go-round that we had in January with defenders, I actually think we've ended up with a more solid back four than we had before. He says, as we concede a goal we probably shouldn't be conceding. Antonio Carlos still hasn't made a save in this game. He hadn't had to until that moment. But that kind of came out of nowhere. Let's look at it from the other angle. So it starts with a corner, and then gets headed clear, but then is looped back in, and Carlos kind of falls over. Big Kev, I think, knocked him over. And yeah, adds a little bit of a question mark to proceedings, because that's 1-1 on the night now. We've only had, they've only had one shot. I got the thing the wrong way around. So they've literally had that one shot on target and scored it. And we could really do with grabbing another goal here and just confirming our lead, because Leipzig on the attack, and this is a worrying development now. This is a very worrying development, because this Vink guy has now scored twice. We're losing at home against a Bundesliga team, something we haven't done all season. We are still on course for an invincible season domestically, but we're now losing against divisional rivals. It's 2-2 on aggregate. They've had 2 shots and scored 2 goals. You don't spend £144 million on a goalkeeper only to then concede 2 goals from 2 shots in the Champions League. That's not the purpose of spending all that money. He's had a really poor game, and I am not amused. Right, what do we do here? I mean, we're not losing the tie yet, but it's certainly not going to plan. Connor Egan's going to come on. We're going to bring on Ayadeli as well to play in midfield. And I think we're also going to bring on Brandon Ferreira and go to proper wing-backs. And we're going to come at them a little bit with normal, proper wing-backs. We're not going to play Egan as a Raumdeuter. That might be a little bit too extravagant for the circumstances. But yeah, Ferreira comes on, proper wing-backs. We're going to offer some encouragement and hope that with proper wing-backs, we can get up and get around them and forget this back 3 nonsense. We want to score some goals. Right, Van Eijsma plays it across to Suarez, who still steps up out of defence even when he's not playing as libero. And now Van Veen into Carrier, who we've not seen very much of today. And Van Veen misses out on the ball there. And it's a counter-attack from Leipzig. And this could all be about to go very, very wrong for us. Another cross to that far post. Ferreira manages to head it clear-ish. Ayadeli clears up after him, though. Lovely work from him. And now Ferreira at wing-back gives it to Egan. Egan finds Moreira. Carrier's made a great run here. He's through. He's taken it a little bit wide. And rather than squaring it to Big Kev, he's decided to go for the glory all on his own. And he probably should be squaring that for Big Kev, because he was unmarked in the 6-yard box. But it remains 2-1 to Leipzig on the night, and we need a goal. Big Kev is going to come off for Hiskey. We're going to take off Moreira, push Carrier up onto the wing, and we are going to bring on Maui in midfield. We'll actually swap them around and have Ayadeli as the guy chasing forward. And I'm so tempted to go to a diamond, put Carrier in there and put Egan up front, but it's not something we've really practiced. We're not even training it, so we can't really do it. But I would very much like to. I need more than 3 tactic slots. That's the big problem with Football Manager. Forget any other issues any of us might have. I need at least 1 extra tactic slot, because we need more options to have trained. It should be unlimited. You should be able to train as many tactics as your players can cope with. It should vary from club to club. You're not telling me Manchester City only have 3 tactical variations trained that they can switch to in real life. I don't buy it. Van Eijsma to Van Veen. Just shoot. Oh, he's taken it around his man there. He's got himself into a decent crossing position. He slides it across, and there is Kennedy Ayadeli with the equaliser on the night to keep our very important unbeaten run going, and it does give us the lead again in the tie. Question marks would have been issued. Eyebrows would have been raised when we set him into the Mazzala position. But there you go, demonstration that Kev knows. Kev knows, boys and girls, and fingers crossed. We've made very hard work of this. Normally at this point, I'd make my Bundesliga's not very good excuse, but we're playing against another Bundesliga team, so I'm starting to think that we're just cowards when it comes to knockout football. But we have made it through today, despite needing a home draw against domestic opposition to do it, but we are into the quarter-final. I don't think the draw happens just yet, does it? But whoever we end up playing, that will be the next episode. So it's going to be one of Milan, Barcelona, Chelsea, Man City, Roma, Inter or Torino. There's no easy games in the Champions League, is there? If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.